All right, yesterday we finished with Van Gogh, and we were just about to start Paul Cézanne. So let's get into this. Here we go. All right, phones face down on the tables, sketchbooks open, eyes up on the screen. Can you fix the projector? All right, this is our last artist of Unit 3. And this is the guy that's going to lead us to Unit 4. He is called the father of modern art or the grandfather of modern art, Paul Cézanne. And he was one of the first of the post-impressionists, but I'm showing him as the last post-impressionist because of his influence on the modern artists in our next unit. So I want to share with you where Saint Victoria Mountain is. It's in the south of France, close to where Vincent van Gogh was in Arles. This is the mountain as you drive up to it. A little closer view. Cézanne bought a piece of land across from this mountain, and he built a studio on this piece of land, and he painted the mountain. All right, thank you. And he painted lots of images of this mountain. And we're going to take a look at one or two of these. And this gives you a sense of how large these paintings are. So, it's easy to see what's going on in this picture. We have a mountain, we have trees, we have farmland, we have structures. However, it's the details that kind of fall apart as you look close. There's buildings taking shape, but they're not quite finished yet. And the trees are kind of half formed. It's a series of hash marks that create the optical illusion of things being there without putting in the details. And then if you look at the background, all right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at the brush strokes. What do the brush strokes look like? And to me, they kind of look like squares of brush strokes. So if I put in like my pen tool here, like right here, it kind of looks squarish. And then right here, it kind of looks squarish. There's these little squares of brush strokes kind of around. And you can see that in the foliage as well as in the bottom half. And the reason I'm pointing these out is that these squarish brushstrokes help to flatten the space in this canvas, to flatten the space in this picture. When artists of the past, before Cézanne, painted landscapes, one of the main purposes of painting a landscape is making it look like it goes back into space. You want to be able to see that the mountains are in the distance, and you have a lake that goes back there, and you don't want to compress that space. And it was the Egyptians that had that totally compressed space where it looked like everybody was on a windowsill or like a ledge on the side of a building. And he is taking this imagery of the landscape and compressing it, and he does it with the brushstrokes. The brushstrokes are same for the background, the distance, and what's up close. So everything gets the same treatment. And my notes here say, up until that point, artists have been creating space that is believable. The atmospheric perspective, as things go back into the distance, they get lighter and lighter. And the sky and the mountains in the distance are fading away. And that helps make things look like they're far away. Cezanne denies the illusionism that was so important to traditional and academic art since the Renaissance. One of the things that traditional artists will do is that things that are up close are highly detailed, and things that are far away are like uh, uh, not as detailed. Yeah, but with Cezanne, everything has the same level of detail. What's up close and what's far away has exactly the same level of detail, and that compresses the space. Another thing that artists did at that time, when they're doing these traditional landscapes, is that the sky and the mountains are very thin layers of paint, and the foreground are thicker layers of paint. And Cezanne destroys that rule, and everything has the same level of paint on it. So what's the difference between the sky and the mountain? They gets the same treatment, the same brushstrokes, and that means that the sky and the mountain are the same distance from the viewer. And then there's some parts of the painting where the forms or the shapes don't close. If you look at this house here, you can see kind of an outline around the house. You can see the outer edges, but in that top little corner, the edge disappears. And so you can't tell where the house ends and the background begins. And that helps to flatten the space, that the background behind the house and the house are at the same distance from the viewer because they overlap each other. One doesn't overlap the other one, they overlap each other. So does everybody understand this idea of compressing the space? And then also this idea of not having closed shapes, that is an idea that will transfer over to the cubists that were looking at Cezanne for their, I need to plug it in. All right, our next painting is Basket of Apples. This slide gives you a sense of how large this artwork is. All right, so what we're looking at is a table that has stuff on it. Basically, it's a still life. So we have a wine bottle, we have a basket of apples, we have some sort of a tablecloth or towel or fabric of some sort that has like a pinkish stripe on it, and then there's a plate that has biscuits on it, and that's biscuits is the British version of biscuits, which means cookies, and that's what we're looking at. But there's something wrong with this picture. Is there anybody in this class that has OCD tendencies that can find what's wrong with this picture? The cloth and what? All right. Yes. Yes. That does. The cloth is going over the table, but that's not what I'm. All right. Yes. Yes. All right. You picked up on it. All right. So there is, if you look at the back table right here, that's where the table should be. But then on the other side of the plate, so let me get my pen. Right here, the table is that high, but this line does not match up with that line. And then there's another line over here that doesn't match up. The table doesn't match up. All right. And then there's another thing that is out of whack over here, and that it looks like the table, on the left, we're looking at the table from almost an even point of view. And on the right side, it's like we're looking down at the table. It's like on the right side, we have a table that tilts up. Do you see that? All right, so we have two different views of the table from two different eye points or vantage points. All right, and then over here, it's like the painting is not finished, that the edge of the table does not match up with the edge of, so the edge of the table on the right, you can see the edge of the table, and on the left, you cannot see the edge of the table. And then this line over here does not match up with this line right here. All right. So we're seeing it from multiple viewpoints, and parts of it look unfinished. All right. And then another thing that's going on, if you look closely at the cookies, at the bottom, it's like we're looking at the cookies at eye level, and then the top cookies is as if we're looking down at the cookies. And this is very different from a traditional still life where everything is from one point of view. So here's what I want to talk about. The reason why I'm pointing all this out is because it is as if we are seeing this from multiple viewpoints, that we have looked at the table from above and are looking down. Or if we've looked at the table from eye level and looked across. In order to do that, we would have to be at two different places. And in order to be at two different places, we're talking about two different points of time. You look at it at eye level, and then you stand up and look at it from above. Those are two different points of time that he compressed into this one picture. If you look at it and the back of the table is at the high point, and if you look at it again and the back of the table is at a midpoint, and then if you look at it again and the back of the table is at a lower point, that you've shifted from where you are sitting. Like you are human. You're not a robot. You're not going to stay perfectly still all the time. So you move around, and when you move around, you see things from different points of view all the time. Your eyes don't take snapshots like a camera. Instead, they are continuously filming like a video camera. And even as you sit still, you are making subtle, small movements and seeing things from slightly different points of view. But your brain is compensating for this, and everything looks normal to you. Your brain takes images from all these perspectives and stitches them together and puts them into one picture in your mind. But the one picture in your mind comes from multiple viewpoints as you just move subtly because you're human. So Cezanne is breaking up the space, and he shows a different image seen from different viewpoints. And it's also like he's breaking up time. And here's why I talk about this painting as a time machine. He's taking multiple times where you've been at different points of view and stitched them into one flat image, and then it's multiple points in time put together. All right, does everybody understand like this radical break in like how to see things? So this is a huge shift in thinking. It's not just I'm going to paint a pretty picture of a still life. It's beginning to like, how can I see this still life differently? How can I portray it differently? Because the old masters, the traditional artists, have already done beautiful, perfect, proportionate paintings of still lifes. So if I do a perfect, proportionate painting of a still life, like I'm just doing old things. I'm just doing what people have done before me. So this is a radical change in thinking about painting. That the painting becomes about the painting and not about the subject. It doesn't matter what's being painted. What's beginning to matter is like, how are we seeing? And this is a huge change in art. And this is what leads us to modern art. All right, and our last artwork for this artist is The Bathers. And that's that image on the left. You recognize the image on the right, correct? Yeah. Like, where are we going? Where have we been? Who are we? All right. So this gives you a sense of how large the bathers are. Cezanne had phobias and repressions. He hated to be touched, and he never painted nudes from models. He painted nudes from his imagination. The women of this painting are integrated into the landscape, and it creates a balanced composition. Do you see the traditional composition here? Like, what shape does it make? Yeah, you see the triangle. And do you see more triangles than just the big one? All right, these two groups of women create these two other triangles. And then I want to look at the one on the right. There's an ambiguity there. So it looks like two women are occupying the same space at the same time. And here's where I kind of like get into my science fiction, this is a time machine kind of moment here. So are we looking at the front of the woman in the foreground or looking at the back of the woman in the background? So there's a bit of confusion. Is that we don't really see which is which, and they're both occupying the same space at the same time. Right? It creates a duality. All right. Are there any questions about Cezanne or anything that we discussed from the 19th century? We are going to review on Monday, and then we will take our test on Tuesday. Because I'm teaching online this summer, so I am making tests for them. I've made this test to be an online test. So we will not have an in-class slide identification, and we will not have an in-class unknowns. So it's all going to be in one multiple choice test. The slide IDs are going to be in the test, right? And so what I'll do is I'll have a picture, and then I'll have all 20 titles, and you'll need to identify the title. Or I'll have all 20 artists, and you'll need to identify the artist. And for dates, I've had like age range or date ranges, and you need to pick the date range of the artwork. And what else? And then the styles. I have all the styles. Right? You need to be able to pick from all the styles. All right. Any questions about that? It's going to be in D2L, and it's going to be with Respondus Lockdown Browser. All right.